What's going on, guys? This is Forrest with the Built on Blue Collar podcast. We are in Oklahoma City this time. We actually commandeered a kind of like a hotel conference room kind of thing. Last time I did this, we were down in Florida with Gary James, and he had to bribe the receptionist to give us a room. So glad that we didn't have to do that this time. She was very sweet and gave us a room that nobody's using that we could kind of steal this podcast, and it's a little bit late at night, so glad we could make it happen. But we are here in Oklahoma City with Cason Baker. He is the, I guess it would be sand mining supervisor on his MacArthur plant here with General Materials. General Materials is a brand new partner of Eagle Eye, so we're super happy to be up here for our first video production with them, and we've got kicked off on their website and all that kind of stuff. So we're super excited about that. But thanks for jumping on, Cason.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. It took a lot longer to set this up in the hotel than you thought it would.
That's for sure. There was a lot more into this than what I was thinking. I thought a couple mics, maybe a camera.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of what it is, a couple mics and a camera. But, yeah. Well, cool. Well, we'll just kind of dive into it. Really the idea behind this, I think sand mining in aggregate, mining in general is really broad, and people don't really understand what is involved in that. And I'm sure people in Oklahoma might understand that sand mining is really popular here. Mm-hmm. People outside Oklahoma probably don't realize that there's a lot of sand in the middle of the country in Oklahoma, of all places, because of all these rivers that we have around here.
Yes.
And all the sediment that it brings down, beating against all the rock from the northern states. So really kind of interesting, all the geological history behind sand in this area. But Cason, we'll dive into, I guess, you and your experience. When did you start in the industry? Did you start in mining originally?
No, originally I just started doing landscaping. Well, first off, I came down to Oklahoma. I'm originally from St. Louis, and I moved down to Oklahoma in 2012. Started going to school down in Oklahoma State, and I was going for construction management. That was really where my focus was.
Yeah.
Ended up just not really enjoying it. Kind of took some time off, figured out what I really wanted to do. You know, I've dabbled in just about everything from landscaping, EMS, firefighting.
Yeah.
Then I ended up in mining, and I fell in love with it.
That's awesome.
It was a great first experience. I started with DeLisi Brothers out of Oklahoma City.
Yeah. Pretty large outfit up here.
Yeah, very large, mostly in the concrete sand industry.
Yeah, they've been around for a long time, too.
Yes. Yeah,
over 100 years, I think.
Yes, they've been around a very long time.
Yeah.
They kind of got me started.
Yeah.
And I really just learned from the equipment side of things.
Yeah.
You know, just getting down and dirty.
So what position did they start you off as?
I was an equipment operator. I started out as a haul truck driver.
Yeah.
And then I went and became a excavator operator and became full-time dozer operator.
Nice. And now you're a supervisor on a large production mine.
Yes.
Which, I love when stories like that come to light, because a lot of guys, we get messages all the time that from younger kids that are like, oh, I want to get started in this industry. And a lot of times they're like, I'd love to operate forever, but like, what if I get into operating and I find out that like, man, I don't want to do that for life, right? Mm-hmm. Well, there's management positions that you can work your way in without. Did you finish college?
No.
Yeah, neither did I.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool to have like that story. It's like you started off as an equipment operator, no college education. I mean, you had college, but you didn't finish it like me.
I mean, I had fun in college.
There you go.
I had very much college, but I had a good time, and I think it really helped me even just getting away.
Yeah.
From the monotony of.
Well, it helped you figure out what you wanted to do, right?
Yeah,
it kind of pushed you in the right direction.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's that's the thing that we say too, is like if you want to go to college, because like everything happens for a reason. Mm-hmm. And I wouldn't be doing what I was doing now if I didn't try 2 years of college and hate it and be told different as well. So like it's good to, if you want to go to college, but if you don't want to go to college, shoot, there's positions that you can start off, haul truck, excavator operator, whatever, and work your way up the ladder per se. But
yeah, I mean, you put your mind to anything, you can make it success out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's cool. So after doing that. Did you get hired on with GMI right after?
Yeah, so I was trying to move up in the Delisi side of the company, and I felt like I was kind of getting stonewalled. So I ended up getting contacted by an old boss that was now working for General Materials.
Yeah.
And went and interviewed with him, and I haven't looked back ever since. I think it was the best decision of my life, in all honesty. I mean,
heck yeah.
I thought I was going to be a career Delisi employee.
Yeah.
But I'm very happy with where I'm at now.
You know, it's and it's not like anything bad against them or anything, but like there's just some times where like some guys really just like large companies that they can be content at, and other guys that, you know, when they get into a smaller company and they have more room to grow, more room to learn, and more opportunities, it really helps them, I guess, realize their potential.
Yes.
You know, because a lot of times you don't get those opportunities as much in a large company. You know, they take a lot longer to progress your career than it does if you're in, you know, a smaller, you know, earlier company.
Yes.
And General Materials has been around for quite some time too, but you know, it's just a different world.
Absolutely.
Than, you know, Delisi. So,
absolutely. I mean, it's night and day between one company and the other.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. So, how long have you been with General Materials?
Going on a year and a half now.
Sweet. So, how long have you been in the mining industry so far?
Going on about 4 years now. Well, a little over 3.5, almost 4. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. Nice. So, 3.5, 4 years, and that's a pretty fast progression from haul truck operator to, you know, I guess kind of a production, you know, position, and supervisor. So as a supervisor on the mine, what is like your goal? Like, what is your, I guess, role in the company?
So I'm in charge of my day-to-day operations of really trying to produce as much as we can in a 12-hour day is really what I focus on.
Yeah.
You know, production in the aspect in the let me rephrase.
Yeah.
In the area that I'm currently in with what we have to supply to our other portion of the mine.
Yeah.
I'm in a area where I have to produce.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no other choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we watch it, man. It's just nonstop all day long.
Yes.
Because and there's such a demand for it, which is crazy. Like when we're looking, and you're over mainly the frac sand portion of things,
yes.
right? And frac sand, for those, I know most of the blue collar guys that are probably listening to the podcast, and it is hot in here. Bryan's also on the podcast, guys. He's filming for us. Can you see if we can turn that down a tad? I don't know if that has a little knob. It's like 100 degrees in this room.
Yeah, I'm sweating.
I know, bro. Me too. It's crazy. I'm starting to feel it in my shirt. I'm like, oh, dang. Well, that ain't what.
I think
that's a projector screen, Bryan.
Thermostat's over there.
Oh, there it is. My bad. I pointed at the wrong thing. He starts clicking at the projector. It comes down. Oh, that's funny. No, it is not. That's
There's no
BS. If the heat from the podcast, we're bringing the heat in the podcast.
Hey,
that's funny. Where were we?
We were talking about frac sand.
That's right. Okay, so describe to the people listening what frac sand is used for, who buys frac sand, and like what kind of industry it goes towards.
So we're selling frac sand towards oil and gas industry. You know, companies that come in, drill a well, and then they're going to come down and they're going to frack it also. And the fracking of it is fracturing the earth open. And what they're doing is, as they're fracturing, they're pumping the sand into those cracks to keep the cracks open. It helps with flow of the oil.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff they've learned is that oil is not just in one spot. It's not just in a big pocket in the middle of the earth anymore. It's all throughout.
Really?
It's all throughout.
So it could be all through the aggregate in the earth. It could be in the soils, kind of like mixed into every single void down there. It probably seeps in like water, to be honest. Right?
Yeah, I mean, you've got areas where you'll end up drilling into like a saltwater shale.
Yeah.
And it'll cause, I don't want to misspeak on this because
Yeah.
I'm not 100%.
Well, and you know, we didn't say this beforehand, but neither of us are really experts, right? Like
No.
I don't know. I'm learning all this stuff, but you know, as far as what you know,
Yeah, you know, it's the product that we're creating is just a very fine sand. In the area that I'm in, we're drying it. We're taking material that is, you know, microns size, and we're drying it to create a product that they can pump down into the ground.
that can actually flow
Yes.
like a liquid,
Yes,
which is really interesting. When you so like, how do you know how they fracture the earth? How they're actually fracking this
it's all under pressure.
under pressure?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know that process at all. I've heard fracking. I've never really done a lot of study on it, but it's interesting that they'll frack the earth and then they'll push this material into the earth as if it's going to push the oil back out, right? That's kind of part of it, or no?
Kind of, but at the same time, it's also, like I said, it's keeping those voids
Open.
in the ground open, and then the material flows back through
the sand?
and
Okay.
easier.
Yeah, instead of like the hard earth that it's been held down by.
Yeah, where it's stuck. You know,
Yeah.
think of it as like trying to go through a brick wall.
Yeah.
You know, if you've got
Like hard clay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, and we've been I mean, describe a little bit as far as I mean we've watched your dredge take the sand out, right, and pile it into, I mean, large quantities, and it looks like what they're doing is they're taking haul trucks of like the raw material. Where does that go through the processing plant and into the frac sand plant, or does it just go straight to the frac sand plant?
So
Because it's probably got to get processed out of the smaller aggregates, larger aggregates.
yeah, so our dredge it's all based off screening. What we've got our shaker screens sized at, the media size of it. So our dredge plan is a little bit bigger screening. It allows for more aggregate to stay in the product. So what we'll do is we take our pile that comes off our dredge, and then we rewash it.
Gotcha.
You know, we've got a plant, call it the rewash.
Yeah.
You know, it's taking that product, and then it's taking all that big aggregate out of the product.
And then you resell. I mean, we've seen lots of those piles out there, the different sizes aggregates that you have, and then you've got. Well, let's just dive into all the products that you have. You've got, you know, masonry sand, all that.
Masonry sand, concrete sand, asphalt sand, a product that's called screw sand that is mostly quarter size, you know, quarter inch and smaller.
Yeah.
We've got, inch and a half rock, 3/8, 5/8, 2.5. We any product that we take out of the ground, we find a use for it.
Yeah.
The only thing that we do not use is the mud.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I've got some videos on TikTok of the mud just sloshing around in the bed of that truck. That stuff is nasty stuff, too.
Oh, it's bad.
Yeah. Where do you guys go to dump that? Where does that go?
We backfill our lakes with it.
Okay, gotcha. So
So-
the spots that you've already mined, you
Yes.
just which really it's almost like, I guess you'd say like a type of, I mean, it's been underwater for a while too, but it's almost like a topsoil, right? Kind of like a really thick mud topsoil. Or no?
It's more of a clay.
Is it? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could model a house out of it.
Yeah.
If you
Let it harden. It's like
Yeah.
it's like rock almost. Yeah,
Yep.
that's funny. Yeah, that's some nasty stuff for sure. Well, that's cool. Okay, so and that's it's you know, all the trucks are running in and out every single day, hauling this rock and the sand and the frac sand and all that kind of stuff. So you're over the frac sand portion of these things, and what you were saying is that you've just got to produce.
Yeah,
the plant never goes down.
my dry. So I'm over the drier area,
Yeah.
which is frac sand. It's the second to last stage before we sell it to a customer.
Yeah.
Because they want, right now, frac industry wants dry sand. There's very few companies out there that are actually doing wet sand fracking. Right now, we're focused on dry sand fracking. So I've got 2 asphalt dryers, rotating dryers,
Yeah.
that we're pushing anywhere between 300 to 400 tons an hour through.
Yeah.
Combined, and we just stack it up in a big old building,
Yeah.
you know. And then, I mean, once we put it in this building, then it gets drawn down, and our fracking silos we'll screen it to the size that they need it to.
Yeah.
So that's where your final product is really coming from. They're going to screen it to a 40 by 200 or a 40/70.
And then just shoot it right into a truck.
And they're going to put it in their silos and then
Yeah.
dump it into a truck, yes.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, because that's a pretty large building. And you just, basically go straight from the dryer right into the building, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
so they've got these massive hoppers. They've got a lot of, and if you go to like our videos, I'm sure we've got some videos, short videos up on YouTube right now that kind of show it, but we're about to produce a big video that will show a little bit more of the process. But they've got these massive piles of the sand out there that's come from the processing plant over to the frac side, and then they're just constantly loading these hoppers. And these hoppers are just loading it right into the dryer. It's getting dried, and it shoots right up into the building.
Yeah, so we're taking sand that's got anywhere between 4 to 6% moisture in it, heating it up to somewhere between 250 to 280 degrees.
Yeah.
And stacking it in a building.
Yeah.
And then as the frac side demands the sand, they draw it out of the building.
So do you see a lot of trucking companies come in and get that, or is it mainly straight from the oil and gas companies that come and haul that away?
That product is strictly oil and gas.
Gotcha. Okay. So the oil and gas companies have their own trucks that they just come in and grab that stuff with.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. Now, on the other side, you guys see a lot of just like random trucking companies that truck it, right?
Yeah, for our concrete sand, asphalt sand.
Maybe concrete companies that just have their own trucks that come grab it, stockpile it at their yard.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we sell a lot. We're partnered with the company Haskell Lemon, which is actually our parent company. They're an asphalt paving company.
Yeah.
So, and then we've got our own trucking company as well that moves all the product for Haskell Lemon.
Yeah, which is going to be kind of cool. I hope to be able to, one of these days, be able to go shoot the process from your plant, from your mine to Haskell Lemon's finished product.
Start to finish.
Yeah, which we're doing a little short video like that for Rogers Group. We just got back from Rogers Group, and we're doing the blasting of the aggregate straight up to the size of aggregate that they're putting on their asphalt plants straight to the concrete, the asphalt on the road. So it's going to be kind of a neat little video.
It'll be cool. We can do what we can do tomorrow too. I mean, we're really we're starting a new cut, so you'll really get to see from the point of stripping the topsoil off the ground to loading it into a truck.
Nice.
Taking it to a plant, it being processed through the plant.
Yeah.
And then loaders coming getting it off a radius and taking it straight to a dryer.
Nice. Every time we've come up here, it's been so darn windy.
I think we're going to be all right.
I think we're good. Right now, it's like there's no wind.
Yeah.
And it's like the perfect day to do that. And so for people that don't know, basically like they're dredging this and they're hauling this out and it's basically creating this massive lake, and it's all water. And literally every time we've come out here, it's been like 35, 40 mile an hour winds, and I'm putting the drone up in the air trying to film this stuff. And I'm so worried I'm just going to dunk my drone right in the water.
We mapped our property about a month ago.
Yeah.
And we had a drone do it. It was a 43-minute flight. And 90% of it is over water. Mm-hmm. And it was not a calm day.
No, you guys were just stressing the whole time, the whole hour.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. Well, that's kind of cool. It's, I wanted to kind of get a little bit of the background as far as like what General Materials is, what they supply as far as a product, and then like where you came in the industry. And I think it's a really cool story to see, another guy that really, went to college but didn't actually you don't need a college degree to get what you got as far as a position, and that's really cool. It gives more of a perspective to those guys, out in the industry that, don't want to go to college like me. I just hated college. But yeah, man, I think being from I guess 3-4 years is like an early career, in this industry. Yeah, but as far as what you saw, and not that, I want to phrase this nicely. Previous companies that we've worked for may not have had the best experience, or might not have had what we wanted, but a lot of times that comes from individuals and not the company, right? So putting that out there first. We're going to kind of dive into the culture and from your early experience in the mining industry, what have you seen, different from the culture in a company like you were before to one that you're in now? And everybody can better their culture, we think. And the industry is one of those industries where nobody really knows what mining is, and how are you supposed to get into an industry from an employee aspect if you don't know what the heck you're doing. So I think like we're changing that with coming out here with you guys from working as a partnership with Rogers Group, and being able to show off these mining industries is really kind of cool. And from that perspective, what do you think as far as the culture that you've seen in the industry, and how do you think like we need to change it as an industry?
So the two biggest things that I've really noticed with the company I was at before, it was a big business company. You know, it started off very small, but once it got to a point where it's at now, it loses that family feel. Yeah. You know, the company I'm at now, a much smaller company. Yeah. Much more family oriented. Yeah. You know, we all have each other's back. That's one of our big things is, you know, we don't want anybody to feel like they don't have someone to go to. Yeah. You know, whether it be work related or you got some stuff going on at home, you know, we want you to always feel comfortable. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of bigger companies lose good employees. Yeah. Is, you know, they get to the size where they can't communicate well with everyone. And, you know, then they get guys in there that, well, you know, he might have been running a quarry, but now we're going to throw him in the sand industry, and he's going to try to run a sand plant like it's a quarry.
Yeah, it's different.
It's totally different. Yeah. You can't do it. Yeah. Where you go from a quarry where you got maybe 40 guys on a day shift, and you go to a sand industry where you got maybe 5 guys running a plant. So, yeah, you know, it's
so from your perspective, how, like, if you're coming from a big company standpoint, how do you change some of that feel? Like, if you're a big company and you've fallen into the trap of becoming more corporate and your people don't feel like it's a family anymore, what do you see as far as like changes that a company like that could bring? Because there's a lot of companies out there right now that I don't know if they listen to our podcast or don't, but you know, if they do, like coming from an employee aspect, what could a company like that do to change the way they are?
You know, I think they need to rely more on employee input. Rely on the guys that are out there doing it every day. Yeah. Not the engineer that just got a 4-year degree. Yeah. And has never worked in the field a day in his life. Yeah. You know, that's where I think a lot of, you know, companies lose that mindset or that vision of, look, these guys are out there doing it. They've run into all these problems. They've seen everything. You know, the guy that's coming out of college is just coming with a book and maybe a little bit of experience from a summer internship, but he's not the guy that's out there every single day. Yeah, you know,
actually putting bucket to dirt,
wrench to pipe. You know, I mean,
well, I think, you know, as a company grows in size, I think where they run into that issue is like, you know, they get so overwhelmed as leadership that they rely on the position that they hire, right? So like, for instance, if they have so many people under them, they have engineers, they might rely on that engineer's input because that's the only person that they can communicate with. Like, yes. It's really tough to communicate with the 40 guys out in the field. You know, it's a lot easier to communicate with one engineer, but that just shows the importance on a company and how they can save money if they hire another person that has a sole job of communicating with the people out in the field. Yes. Because if you've got a guy, and maybe it's the engineer's role to communicate directly with the guys that are out in the field, if you've got somebody that understands that in your organization and they can relay that information to the leadership, I think that one position that could be different in your organization, one salary difference, can save you millions of dollars in product.
Absolutely. And in not only in product, but in
employees,
in time, in labor. You know, you go from, look, if your supervisor's out there saying that's not going to work,
it's not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
you know.
The engineer will go, oh, yeah, I've done the calculations. I know how to do this.
Exactly.
It's going to work. No, it's
say,
not.
no, my computer program said I can do that.
You know what's really funny? This is coming from the construction world, but it's very similar to that. We had there was a story, and of course the general contractor got blamed for it, and it wasn't the general contractor's fault, but we've got a GC near us called Pogue Construction, and they did a really large, in Texas, I don't know, for those who aren't in this area, Texas takes football very seriously.
Oh, yeah.
So our high school stadiums are the size of college stadiums in Texas, and Allen Football Stadium was, I want to say $75, $80 million stadium that they built for this high school. And it is massive. And when Pogue constructed it, one of the engineering firm, from what I understand from behind the scenes, the engineering firm was basically like, this is how we want to build the foundation, all the concrete structure to it. And Pogue Construction basically came back and said, this is not going to work. And the engineer, from my understanding, from what I've been told, it was like, I don't care what you think. This is my design, run with it.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, we're going to build it, but it's not going to work. And they built it. They ended up having to come back and do like another $20 million in foundation work, and added material after the foundation cracked because the engineer was wrong. And it just shows a perfect example of like, that was just a discussion that could have saved you $25 million in extra work on a stadium. And that's just from the guys out in the field that have done this for X amount of years, that really understand how that's going to, how that operates. They've done it. Maybe they've seen a project in the past that failed. Maybe they got burned on a project like that, and you're not listening to them or their input, then it's kind of, that's a really slippery slope.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And the sad thing is it happens all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, every single day it happens. You've got somebody that's not anywhere close to a job site making decisions on a job site that they don't know the ins and outs of.
I remember one of my projects that I was on, it was actually Allen Freshman Center. Awesome architect. Those guys were really good. But there was a senior architect there, and there was a junior architect there. I think it was his first project or second project or something like that. Really cool guy, excellent person, loved the dude to death. But he really didn't know anything. This was his first project. And what I loved about him is that he would spend a lot of time out there with us field guys, learning that why we were, sending in RFIs, why it wasn't working, why is this not going to be built like I designed it? Because he went through a lot of the design process with the the senior architect on the project, and she was very knowledgeable. But she basically was like letting him run with the project, get some time under his belt, and I really appreciated that aspect. And he was a young guy. I mean, a really young guy, which I think it's funny because older architects, even if they're brand new to the industry, if they have that architect title, if they got the engineer title, it's like they've got this power trip, right? And he didn't. It was really nice to be able to have a difference in like that young personality that was like, oh, let me learn as much as possible. And there were a lot of issues on that job site just because the design just didn't work, but he learned about them all. Yeah. And that is huge. When it comes from a company, I think, encourage your people to learn and ask a lot of questions. Junior, senior employees, it doesn't matter because some of those senior engineers, they'll go their entire life without walking out in the field once. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be a good engineer if you don't do that.
With the way that everything evolves, the way that the industry is evolving right now. Yeah. Even the guys that have been doing it for 10, 20 years, you can always learn something new. You can't.
100%.
I mean, there's no such thing as,
never learning.
Yeah, never
stop learning.
Never stop learning. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think, on almost every podcast we say this, but if you learn the bad way your entire career, you've learned nothing, right? So it's like, and here's another thing. I think older guys in the industry that they've almost gotten to the point, they might realize now, because a lot more people talk about it, like you and I, and other guys in the industry are speaking out now that, if you have learned the wrong way, like, fix it. There's never there's never too late to start learning the right way.
Correct.
But I think a lot of these older guys are like, well, I spent 30 years in this industry, like, I'm going to have to start over if I start learning the other way, right? So they have this, like, pride in them, and they almost like a denial. Like, oh, I can't change the way I've done it now because my entire career would be worth nothing. And it's like, just start learning differently. Put your pride aside and start learning the right way of things. Because I think that's one of the things, culture-wise, that we'll probably dive into is, like, the industry has taught a lot of bad principles and we're fixing a lot of them now. And one of those is how we deal with our employees.
I agree.
And we're fixing it. We're fixing it now, but we're behind the curve.
Oh, yeah. Way behind the curve.
So, like, when you look at the mining industry and its need for people, elaborate. How many people are you guys needing right now?
You know, believe it or not, we're actually fully staffed now.
Nice. There you go.
I mean, we can always hire more people because, you know, I've got 2 shifts that I run.
You've always got to raise your production.
Yeah. So there's never enough time in the day.
Yeah.
A 12-hour day, you can't hit the numbers that, you know, we're trying to hit unless you've got, you know, hundreds of thousands of acres of ground where you can just
rip away.
Yeah, rip and go.
Yeah.
You know, in the area that we're working, we don't have that option.
Yeah.
You know,
You've got to go down.
Yeah. We've got to go down, and then we got to cross a street and go to the next property and then remove some trees and go to the next property. And so there's always battles.
Yeah.
But, you know, finding people at one point was impossible.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have 30 people apply for a job. Maybe 10 of them would respond to the phone or our call back.
Yeah.
Out of those 10, we'd set up interviews, and maybe 2, 3 of them would show up for an interview.
See, that's what baffles me. We've got a East Texas client of ours, and he's had multiple people like call him like, yeah, I'll be there tomorrow to interview with you in person, and just like no call, no show, just not even show up.
Same.
And I'm like, is this because they're like criminals and they've got like a bail or like a you know, the probation officer, you know, you need to be like, hey, I've applied for this job or something. You know, like there's a lot of people like that are out there, but it's like, I don't get that. Like just saying that you're going to be there and then not showing up, like you might as well not call back, bro, because you're never going to get hired if you can't
and then,
do
you know,
that.
You pretty much get blacklisted from ever going to that company ever
unless there's like a quality reason, like my wife died or something, you know.
You know, you know, we give you guys, you know, we cut them some slack.
Benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, you know, if you say, hey, look, I was on my way and I got pulled over because I was going 20 over, ended up spending the night in jail. I'm like, all right, well,
we'll see you here tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Yeah,
exactly.
You know, but don't speed this time. leave 30 minutes earlier.
Yeah, no kidding.
But yeah, I mean, there's always an excuse.
Yeah.
For why I didn't show up, or they don't care.
Yeah, a lot of times it's that too. It's just that I don't care.
Yeah, and that's what's sad about it is because they don't understand what they're missing out on.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, it's good that those guys, you know, part of what we specialize in is being able to, you know, attract the right folks, right? That's what we try to do, especially when we partner with a company like yours. It's like we don't want to attract those guys.
Yeah.
We want those guys to look at you guys and say, yeah, no, they're going to be a little strict on us. I don't want to even apply there, right? And then the guys that are like savages that want to just do the best job that they can, we want to attract those guys, right? We want to show off the industry in that kind of manner and show the real expectations through you guys. And attracting that kind of a person will eliminate some of the headache of, you know, having 30 interviews and only getting 10 and having 10 you know, in-person interviews and only getting 3. You know, hopefully that will solve some of that. But it's interesting to see that in the industry because we've got a lot of need and there's a lot of good quality jobs out there, but people just don't realize. Because I think they don't realize the quality jobs because they don't see it.
They don't, yeah.
You know, they can see Chick-fil-A commercials, they can see Buc-ee's commercials, whatever on TV. And
yeah, you don't ever see anything about mining.
No.
There's no advertisement.
Nothing.
On any kind of – the biggest advertisement there was about any kind of this style of work was dirty jobs, and that was, a decade ago?
No kidding. Well, and a lot of times it was smaller contractors that weren't really hiring. It was just like showing off what they were doing, right? Yeah. So, like, it kind of shows the blue-collar industry, but it really doesn't, you know? Like, I just saw this video, and I think a lot of people that are listening probably saw this video too, but I was watching this video of this guy cleaning out like an old manhole with like a pressure washer. Yeah. And there's like, I don't know, like 50 roaches crawling around, and there's like 10 crawling around on him. And he's just pressure washing this thing. He's in this little manhole. He's like, you know, cleaning it out. Old like brick manhole. Yeah. And there's just so many roaches crawling on him. And it's like, that's a dirty job. You've got, and some of the comments were funny, like, if his wife gives him any issues, you know, about working late, she needs to like
Go see where my office is, babe.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that. But there's a lot of positions like you don't have to get that dirty to have a good job. But like, it's funny because that's the kind of stuff that he would show on Dirty Jobs. I love Mike Rowe to death, but like in construction, in the blue collar trades, you're not necessarily that bad, right? And you're still gonna get dirty. You're still gonna have calluses on your hands and stuff like that. But ultimately, you're gonna love what you do because it's a lot of fun.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's some days that I come home head to toe in grease, but it's part of it.
How many times have you cleaned out your ears and there's like a pile of sand in there?
Every single day.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single day.
I mean, we've seen the dash of your truck. I mean, it's just last time we were out there, dude, the wind was blowing, and it was just like I walked home, and it reminded me of the days where I used to run the skid steer on the job site.
Yeah.
And if it's a really dry day and you're running the skid steer on the job site and you don't have, the front cover or like the glass to it, it just blows right back in. I would come home and my wife would be like, ew. And I just face full of dirt. There's like outlines from my safety glasses.
Yep.
And my ears are covered in dirt, and like I'm just scraping black mud out of my ear. And I mean, those are the dirty days, but
those are the good days.
To be honest, I miss those days, dude.
Yeah.
Just spending all day long on the skid steer or like all day long on the track hoe. Yeah, those are some good times.
There's some days that definitely go by where I'm like, man,
I really want to hop in that.
Yeah. I really just want to go sit on a dozer and push dirt all day.
To be honest, man, I wouldn't mind jumping in an excavator tomorrow. That would be fun.
We can get you in one.
I'm down. I don't think I've ran one of those 470s yet.
I'm sure we could probably get you in one.
I've ran a lot of cats, and I haven't ran a lot of Komatsus, but a few. But I've never ran that 470 before.
Sorry that you've ran a Komatsu.
God bless you. Oh, that's funny. Wasn't the anniversary to that like 2 days ago? Komatsu, God bless you.
I don't think so.
Killdozer?
Oh, Killdozer, yeah. That's right, it was. It was about 2 days ago.
It was like 2 days ago.
June 4th.
Right before D-Day.
Yep.
It's almost the same. I don't want to I don't want to diss D-Day. We take D-Day very seriously in our organization, but yeah, Killdozer, that was funny. Yeah, 4th. I saw a whole bunch of photos about that.
I did too, and I saw it, coming up across my Facebook and everything. I was like, man, the bad rep that stuff got from that,
If only people knew the real story behind it.
Oh yeah,
they'd be like, he's a national hero. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, we've got I think one of our highest seen, or I guess the best TikTok video that we've ever done was the Komatsu floor on Mining Expo. Mm-hmm. Got like 2 million views or something like that.
I was at that.
Yeah, I forgot.
I wasn't in it, but I was there.
I forgot you were there, man. I tried linking up with you guys while you guys were there, but we never got to. But yeah, I took the video of that floor, and literally all of the comments, thousands of comments, were just like, Komatsu, God bless you. Komatsu, God bless you. And I was like, oh, man, here we go. But hey, that's what got the views. So
did you see that that excavator out working?
So we've been talking to Waukesha Pierce, which does a lot of the equipment sales and that kind of thing for, I guess, like the South Texas and East Texas regions. Louisiana, they do some in Louisiana and stuff like that. But they've actually got a yard up in East Texas nearby where they manufacture those Komatsus, those mining machines, those PC 5500s.
Yeah.
And they say that there's one out on a mine out in East Texas. So we're going to try and get Komatsu to get us, linked up with that mine. I don't know who the mine is or whatnot. But they're like, yeah, it's a really cool machine out there. You guys got to go take a look at it. So we're trying to get out there now to get some video of it in the works.
I want to say the one that was at Vegas ended up either in Arizona or New Mexico.
I don't doubt. Was it on a gold mine or was it on?
I think it's on just a regular mine.
Really?
Yeah.
What are they mining? Just aggregate?
Yeah.
Really? Because I know Arizona, southern Arizona, has a lot of like, I don't know if it's gold or copper or something like that. I don't remember what they're mining out there, but there's a lot of high production mines up that way.
I want to say I know it's somewhere in the United States.
Yeah, I'd like to. It'd be really cool because we've got actual video footage of that excavator on the floor of Mine Expo. It'd be cool to show the Mine Expo floor and then right out to the working site.
That would be cool.
I've stepped foot in that cab. I've checked that thing out at Mine Expo. Now we're out here on.
I didn't actually climb up there. I didn't actually go up there and get in the cab.
Worth it. Worth it just
I
to
was,
see the view, dude.
I was more interested in going in the D10.
Oh yeah, I know
Yeah.
the D11 that they had sitting
Or,
there.
yeah, D11. I was.
They didn't let you hop up on that one. That's kind of frustrating.
No, there was a brand new one out there. They let you get in.
Oh yeah, because they had a used one that was sitting.
Yeah,
out there
the
too.
used one was on loan from a local area.
Oh really?
And then
Where was the new one?
The new one was over by the simulators. It was over by where you could get in the
Was it on the opposite side of the haul truck, the rigid frame haul truck? Like you had the balcony that
Yep.
stretched from the rigid frame over to the.
Yep. And it
That's
was on
right.
the
I set
other
the
side.
alarm off on that thing. I hopped in the seat. And I was just like playing around, trying to take a look at the controls.
Try to start it.
Maybe maybe I did that.
No, I had a cat key in my pocket.
I did actually. Like I was fiddling around, and all of a sudden it was like me, and I was just like, oh shoot, and it wouldn't stop. So I had to go find a cat rep, and he's like, oh yeah, that I don't know why it's doing this, and then he had to find out how to shut it off, and it was so freaking loud. The entire expo was listening to it.
Switch the disconnect off.
I was like no, I tried shutting the entire thing. I tried doing all of that, and it wouldn't shut off. Like the system was having some kind of error on the screen, and it was like just locking up. And I was like, it wasn't me, I promise. I crawled out of there. I was like, I don't know what happened. It's like, it's not me. But no, that was fun. That was a good time. Mine Expo was a lot of fun.
It was. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to ConAg next year.
Dude, yes. Bryan.
What?
Bryan went to Bryan that was actually his first trip with us, was Mine Expo. What did you think of Mine Expo?
Libier looked like an Apple exhibit. It was cool.
No kidding, it's all white and black.
It looked like an Apple exhibit.
It's like I walked into an Apple store, but there's heavy equipment here.
Yeah,
What's
I
the
thought Steve Jobs was going to come out in his turtleneck and start talking about his machines.
I thought it was funny that I gave the camera to Cameron, and they had just started their exhibit for the Liebherr. I think it was their trolley system with the haul truck. So Liebherr has this haul truck that and a lot of these guys are doing that, but they've got like a trolley system that they'll do like 100% electric run through the trolley system, and then once it just turns around and stuff, it kicks into the diesel engine, and the operator can turn it around and dump it and get loaded and all that kind of stuff. Well, they were starting up that exhibit, and I wanted to get this photo, and we were not going to walk all the way back over to that Liebherr exhibit. So I was like, Cameron, here, take the camera, and the back plate of the like right on the axle, I basically like jumped up like 3 feet and grabbed onto it. And it's like all these like really professional executives sitting up there watching the exhibit, and then there's just random kid with a backpack on just runs up and just grabs on it, and I just hold it there for like 5 seconds, and then I jump down and I walk back over. Cameron's like, no, dude, I didn't actually get the photo. So I had to do it a second time while these guys are like, what is this guy doing? And I jumped up again, and I gave it like 10 seconds. He finally got the photo, and I felt so weird, but I was like, worth it. It's one of my favorite photos. That thing is massive. But yeah,
that was my first time in Mine Expo, and
was it?
it was
Mine
cool to
too.
see how everything was focused on automation.
Dude, okay, so that's what we noticed too.
Oh, yeah.
That's what mining is going towards is automation.
So we can dive into that. Heck, that's a topic on itself, because like I was actually going to write I actually have an article that I've written on LinkedIn that's called "Are the Robots Going to Take Our Jobs?" And it's all about like automation and the needs that we have to run the automation, because a lot of people look at the automation industry in mining and construction, and they think, oh crap, like this is going to replace human beings. But like we were over at Rogers Group a few weeks back, and they've got a autonomous drilling rig basically, and the thing will just, and so for those who don't know, in the like heavy aggregate, they're mining limestone basically, and in these underground mines on the limestone, they're drilling in a cone shape basically with this large drill to pack it with explosive, and they basically do 1 or 2 blasts a day. So these drills are constantly going on the day shift, and they're drilling like if you were to take a square wall of rock and you were to drill a cone into the rock where all of the points basically meet at the exact same end in the backside of the rock. And then on the outside, you basically outline the rock in like the square that it's in, the shaft that you're drilling. So that once you blast it, as the blasting is like, milliseconds from each other, it basically takes this massive cone piece that you drilled, and it blasts that out first, milliseconds away from the edges. So the cone blasts out in front, and the edges basically blast out and fall behind it. So it's very like precise. You have to be like super precise on where you drill, super precise on where you put pack the explosive and blast it.
Yeah.
Which I thought was really cool. Well, now they've got these autonomous drills that they've got, and there's still an operator that has to operate that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool because the old style drills, you're having to be super precise. You're having to stress over this, and if you don't blast it right, you have to fix it later, and it's a pain in the ass just to fix it, right? So now these autonomous drills can be super precise, but somebody's still running the autonomous drill, and it's more advanced. It's cooler to run. We've got some inside the cab footage. I think it's really neat, and we're working on the video for them right now. You'll see some of that in the video coming up, but it's just really cool to see that you still need people to run this stuff. It's not like it's just going to eliminate human beings.
No.
There's still a need, and a lot of the older generation, they're like, oh, this is going to replace us. Well, it's not,
No, I mean, you're still going to have an operator, whether they're on the location or 100 miles away from the location.
Yeah.
I don't know if you got to see there was a D10 that you could
sick.
run. You could sit in a trailer, and you were operating it 150 miles away.
Yeah, out in Arizona.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
they had one at ConExpo too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I really fear about that is you lose that feeling.
Yeah.
I
agree.
Especially with a dozer or an excavator.
Here's the thing is there's going to be different costs associated to having an like a remote operator, right? Like it's like having a autonomous car, right? I can make split-second adjustments as my brain, and I can feel the road. I can see what the person in front of me is about to do before they do it, right? Like human beings are able to process stuff that hasn't happened yet just by their instinct on what they've noticed before, right?
Yes.
Unless it's AI or something like that, it's not going to figure that out. And I'm sure AI might take over a little bit in this, but you think you can only replace a human being so much. Mm-hmm. The human being has the ultimate control over what is really going to happen.
Yes.
And if you're in the operator seat, that it's not going to feel the same if you operate from the couch in your house. It's not going to feel the same.
No.
And I think there would be scenarios that a remote operator might be a good thing, like safety issues. Like we had Red Rock in New York that we work with. They do a lot of like demolition from like, I don't know, high elevations. New York has a lot of tall buildings. Those tall buildings have to be removed to build something new. There's no new space, right? All the land in New York and Long Island is accounted for. Unless it's a park and you're not plowing down a park.
Yeah.
It's always concrete, right?
You got to destroy something to build something new.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. So these guys have one of those. Darn, what are they called? It's basically like a hammer, jackhammer, but it's there's a name for them. It looks like a spider basically, and it's a remote jackhammer, and they basically put it on like a platform with a crane, brought it up. They had like these large chimneys that they had to like take down, and obviously like to get guys up there, they couldn't have a high reach. They didn't have a high reach. They didn't have it in the budget to get a high reach. They just bought this machine. I wish I freaking remembered the name of it.
It's not a spider crane, is it?
No, it's a Brock. Am I thinking the right name? It's like Brock might be the manufacturer of these, or type of manufacturer, not the type of supplier. But it's basically like it's just a big lump. Basically, it's got 4 legs and it's got an arm that just hammers away at the material. And they basically lifted that up, and they were able to demolish this massive chimney chute from like an old plant, with nobody being near it.
Yeah.
Somebody's in a crane operating, where it goes, and somebody else is operating the Brock, hammer.
The hammer, yeah.
And that solves so many safety concerns, right? If the machine goes down, okay, whatever, it's the cost of the machine. You can't replace a human life.
You got insurance for your machine.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't replace a human. So like that's the kind of stuff. Those are the kind of things where I think, okay, if they're running a D10 or a D11 on, that's it. What is that?
The Brock 180 remote control demolition robot.
Yep, that's it. That's what they've got.
That's cool.
It's freaking sweet. And they've got They've got skid steers they operate from their cell phone off of an app.
That's cool.
It's really neat.
We're looking into autonomous dredging.
That would be sick. Yeah, because you'd still have an operator, but it would run its course. It's like throwing up the drone in the air to do your mapping. I mean, you still need an operator to run the drone.
Still got to program it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the kind of cool stuff. And like, those are the situations. You take a big D11 dozer, you put it on the side of a mountain where it's like not the most stable ground.
You're going to feel it in your ass.
Yeah. Well, you're going to be puckered if you're an operator. If you can do it remotely, you might be able to put a piece of equipment up there without putting somebody's life in danger.
Yes. You might be losing your machine, though.
$2 million, but
yeah.
I mean, and that's the thing. I think operating those is probably harder from like a remote position.
Yeah.
You can't see everything. You know, it might have 6 cameras around the thing, but you can't feel that the ground's about to give out on you.
That's my biggest thing on a dozer is I learned to run one I learned to run one, and you run it with your butt. You really do. I mean, you feel the grade.
Yeah.
You feel what the blade is doing.
Well, because you can't really see the edge of the blade.
No, you can't see the blade. You can see the edges of it.
Yeah.
But you can't see what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And so you learn to feel when the engine bogs down.
Yeah.
When you
got to lift up the blade a little bit.
Yeah, when you're leaning to one side and the other.
Yeah.
When you're starting to cut, when you're laying material out.
Yeah.
It's all just by feel, and it's all from your butt, your legs, and your arms.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, every good operator does everything by feeling.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do a lot of work with simulation. We help train folks through putting them on a simulator and showing them, before they've ever stepped foot on a piece of equipment, how to feel the equipment through a simulator. Simulators can only get you so far, but at least it helps, right? Like, at least it helps give you the feeling, okay, the rocking and the rolling, and like if you tip over that machine, you're going to feel it in the simulation. But at the same time, it's not real life. So, it's only as good as what you can feel in. And these simulators, the kind of seats that are in the simulators that's the only advancement that they're ever going to make in this remote control equipment world. You might be able to feel it as it rocks, you're not going to feel everything. No. It's just not going to happen. And I think that's probably the hardest part is like when I was watching that dozer work from the remote position, being able to see the edges of the dirt. Like, my eyesight's not that great. I don't have great eyesight, so being able to see it live is better for me than to be able to look at a screen that's smaller. That's gonna be tough to see.
I mean, you're talking about equipment that's millions and millions of dollars. I mean, you're not buying that for the everyday sand and gravel pit.
No, yeah.
You're talking about big open pit mining.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's where the remote control and autonomous would really work.
Really comes in handy, and I believe there's a mine out in California, and it's all autonomous.
Really?
All the excavators are ran from remote locations.
Do you know who runs that mine? Do you know what the company is? It'd be really cool to get out there and kind of show that off.
I'm trying to remember.
If you ever think of it,
if I think of it, I'll let you know. Yeah. But there's they run everything autonomous.
That's pretty cool.
Their haul trucks drive themselves.
Yeah,
we're talking about like 300-ton haul trucks.
That's nuts.
That are actually driving themselves. There's no person. They're just following a track.
That's crazy. What I've always been curious about is like, okay, like the leave here trolley system, right? You've got to set up the lines so that the trolley system touches the electrical lines, gets the power to run it. A mine is constantly changing. It's constantly moving. The haul routes are constantly moving. How often would you have to move those trolley systems, and how would you move those trolley systems? Are they mobile? Are they not mobile? If you do autonomous, how easy is it to plug in? And there's more positions that people are going to need to be able to fill.
Yeah.
Map out the positions for the autonomous vehicle.
GPS. Somebody that knows how to run GPS.
Yeah.
I don't really know how often that kind of stuff would have to be changed.
I don't either.
But
it's kind of a cool
I feel like when you're getting into that kind of scale, it's maybe years before you're ever, having
changing the haul route or something.
Yeah, because
maybe
what you're getting into is they're going deeper and deeper and deeper.
Well, I mean, like like our Rogers Group, trip, you know, when I was out there last, it was almost dang near a year, probably 8 to 10 months ago that I was out there. Now they've got, I mean, another level completely mined, you know. But the thing is, like, the main route is just basically around the pond and up to the crusher. Mm-hmm. That route I could see being autonomous. But a mine like that's changing literally daily. Like, they're blasting a new section every single day.
Yes.
That haul route's going to change every single day.
Yes.
So, like, it would basically be able to be autonomous up until the point in which the change has been. And you'd have to update the route of what, you know, how it's autonomous. But you'd need an operator in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could be
remote
more or less.
But I mean, you would need, you know, like, the loader operator is not going to be autonomous right away. Like, we can't figure out how to do that right now, I don't think. Maybe the technology's out there right now, but it would be really tough to figure out, okay, we've blasted this section. You don't know where that stuff is going to go until after you blasted. Yeah. You know, you can have a general idea, but you don't know exactly where it's going to go. And then being able to load the truck up exactly where the loader operator needs it, all that kind of stuff. I think it could probably run autonomous through the whole route. But if you're going to run the route autonomous, and then you're going to need an operator to turn around and dump and load up, you might as well just hire an operator. Why have it autonomous?
Exactly.
You know, I mean, that's just my thought process right now. I mean, I'd have to see how it works, but yeah, I mean, this whole discussion came from Mine Expo had a lot of autonomous vehicles. I think everything in that auditorium
was autonomous.
Yes. That's something that I noticed and I thought was really neat, really, really cool. I think that drill that we saw at Rogers Group was actually there. Not that exact one, but the type was there at Mine Expo, which is really neat to be able to see that.
They did have a lot of drills there.
Yeah.
A lot.
I remember because I grabbed a little Mentos packet from them, or like a little mint case from them, like an Altoids container, and I still have it in I should probably throw that away. It's still in my office. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Con Expo is going to be awesome. I'm really excited about Con Expo. It's going to be a good time for sure. But, well, cool. All right. So what other kind of cultural things do you see happening in the industry? Other than like autonomous and all kinds of jazz, what do you see? Futuristic sand mining.
Futuristic sand mining.
Just dive into, like, you know, I don't know. Run down that rabbit hole.
I don't know yet, man. I really don't. I mean,
anything that really, like, stands out?
I'd like to get to the point where I don't have to run haul trucks. I'd like to everything be pumpable straight to a plant.
That'd be kind of neat.
Like, everything be run off a dredge.
Would that eliminate some positions, maybe?
It would.
Yeah. But it would probably create a few others.
It would create a few, but it would eliminate a lot of overhead.
Yeah.
Because, like, right now, you can't get haul trucks.
Yeah.
We've got 4, and we've got 2 on loan, and we could easily run 4 more.
Yeah.
And
which would be more positions that you'd need to hire.
Would be more positions, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
the technology's probably grown in that aspect, but
oh yeah, it's easily done. You just have to
belt it over or something.
Yeah, we just pump it.
Yeah,
pump it through a pipeline.
Yeah,
I mean, we're looking into that as our next move. You know, we're really looking into dredging from across the way, boring under the road with our pipeline, and
just pumping it right up in there.
Yeah, dredging it straight to a plant.
Would they have to go to the plant first and then haul truck it over for frac sand?
No, because we'd put the plant right where the dryer plant is.
So basically, you would take one loader operator that could basically run that yard, or 2 loader operators that could run the yard, or whatever.
You could essentially do it with no loader operators.
Really?
You pump it to a plant, and then as it comes off the plant, it goes into another storage building.
Oh, okay.
Goes into a storage building.
And it just constantly goes in the dryer?
With multiple hoppers underneath the ground.
Yeah.
That it's just multiple draw holes.
Yeah. That's probably a little ways off, but yeah, that's a really cool thought, though.
I mean, it eliminates. It's the opposite though of what the culture thing is, because it eliminates
the need for the people.
The need for the people.
Yeah. Which, I mean, I think like no matter what any company does, there's always going to be a need for the people.
Yeah.
Right. So like, you know, it's one of those things, but it's cool to see the efficiency in some of those, you know, different ways of doing that. And that's where companies really make the money, is how they can be efficient. Right. I don't know if we should. Bryan and I have been traveling a lot this last couple of months, and Bryan and I we spent a lot of late nights in the hotel. Right, like we start at like 3 or 4 in the morning, get everything loaded up. We get to the site by 5:45, whatever time they're there. Right, we start shooting. Typically, it's funny because like construction workers think they work a lot, right, and they do. Mining workers, they work a lot, but like when we leave the mine, we typically have like another 3 or 4 hours of work before we like go to bed.
Yeah.
So like we'll get there before they're there, start filming. We'll film the entire day. You know, maybe like at Rogers Group, we did 2 shifts in a row. We went like from day shift straight into the night shift.
Yeah.
And then straight from night shift back home to the hotel to like finish out our day. And it was a couple 18-hour days for us that time. And we would get in the hotel, we'd start uploading the footage, we'd start talking, and it's what he's now calling our crackhead thoughts.
Crackhead thoughts.
Crackhead thoughts.
I like it.
And we're looking at, I'm not going to give all the details because it's like, I would like to say a decent ways off.
Yeah.
But we're looking at being able to develop a way that we can automatically find these new strategies and be able to present them to earthwork contractors, mining contractors without them taking all the time to find it themselves.
Yeah.
So being able to develop a system that can work all of these equations, work all of these different scenarios automatically, and then find the best situation for your land.
Yeah.
So basically plug in your exact property to the system and let it run a simulation on it and figure out what the most efficient way to run that property would be.
That'd be pretty cool because, I mean, it doesn't matter what you're doing. Everything has an efficiency rating.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when we work with earthwork contractors, the way they make their money, the way they win jobs is typically how fast and how much money they can save the owner, right, or the GC. And so a lot of times if an earthwork contractor, bids this strategy, they might bid it at $1 million. And if another contractor bids it, doing it faster and with less equipment for this strategy, it might be $800,000. The guy with $800,000 is probably going to win if they've got a better way of processing everything. If everything's apples to apples, right?
Yeah.
If it's the same amount of dirt, same scope of work, but they're doing it faster, less equipment, less people, more efficient, they're going to win the job.
Yes.
And so being able to have that edge on figuring out what the most efficient way is doing it will not only save contractor money and being able to, plan for that job, but it'll also save their clients money and it'll help them win more contracts.
Yeah, because it takes all the trial and error out of everything.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I mean, granted, everything changes when you get in the field. Everything changes when you get in the field. But at least it gives you, the game plan day one of the best route to go.
The biggest thing that nobody ever accounts for is the weather.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
in construction, in construction, you have weather days added into the contract, but it's never enough.
No.
It's never enough.
I mean, because
there's a national average.
We're still recovering from winter days.
I remember that.
Where we had negative 12 degrees, below freezing.
And a lot of snow.
For 12 days.
Yeah.
You can't run wash plants. You can't.
Yeah, no kidding.
I mean,
the water is not going to produce.
Yeah,
it's not going to come out.
The water is not going to flow.
Yeah.
And when you're not able to produce that product, and you've still got a plant that's running the dryer that is just gobbling that product up 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 tons a day, but you're not replenishing it, you're going to get behind real fast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, and especially in, Oklahoma's kind of, it's not quite a southern state, but it's still kind of in the southern spot a little bit, kind of, it's still kind of within the northern part of Alabama and Mississippi and that kind of, maybe close to that region.
If Texas didn't have to be so big, it would be more of a southern state.
That's true, to be honest. I've always thought that Oklahoma and Texas ought to be just one state. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
everybody in Oklahoma basically considers themselves a Texan, and Other than
Yeah,
OU.
but nobody from Texas considers himself in Oklahoma.
Absolutely not. That's the truth right there. It's funny because we bought property up in Oklahoma, and we want to build the training center up there, up here in Oklahoma. But it's like, if I build the training center up here, I'm probably gonna have to like live up here, and I'm like, I don't want to live in Oklahoma.
Why not?
I want to have that Texas driver's license. I want to be in Texas.
You can keep the Texas driver's license. That's fine.
I know, but then I won't be able to hunt in Oklahoma as a resident. That's my only downside.
You just got to keep land in Texas.
I guess. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, that's weather definitely affects it, but that's all kind of cool. Crackhead thoughts, as Bryan says. Crackhead thoughts.
Crackhead thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna probably have to steal that, Bryan.
Oh no, yeah, good.
he thought you were talking about stealing the idea. Don't steal the idea.
No. I'm gonna have to steal the crackhead thoughts.
Yes.
Oh, when everything, like every thought that comes out of like after 11, it's just a crackhead thought at that point.
We've talked about some crazy. We argued for like an entire 10-hour drive. This is really stupid. We argued for like a 10-hour drive on quantum physics. Like we were just, and we were basically saying like we were just repeating ourselves for like 10 hours straight, just like no this, no this, no this. So like we both agree and disagree in certain areas of quantum physics.
Yeah.
And it's all started with a freaking Joe Rogan podcast where he started freaking Joe Rogan podcast we were listening to. They were talking. It was actually with Jack Carr and Joe Rogan, and we were listening to that one. And they started talking about quantum computing that Jack Carr has in his book, and they're going to probably incorporate it in his new film or his new like TV series with what's his name? Chris Pratt. And so I paused the podcast with Joe Rogan, and I was like, all right, let's talk quantum computing. We started talking quantum computing, and then we were like quantum physics, and we started diving into quantum physics, and we were talking forever, and it lasted for like 2 days because we got like home and we got packed, all the stuff unpacked from the truck, and we're still talking to quantum physics up in the office. And then like the next day comes up, and we're like working in the office, and I'm like, all right, back to that quantum physics thing. We started all over again, and it was like, dang, this is gonna those are the kind of crackhead thoughts.
Those are crackhead
even on the
thoughts.
road, man. Those are crackhead thoughts. But
that's awesome.
It's just a lot of funny stuff. But the stuff that we talked about that one night, I can't really give much detail on, but I'm really excited about diving into that because there are some really cool ideas that'll help attract, I think, younger folks.
Yeah.
Into the industry, and I think we'll train them a little bit better. So, this isn't, we're not going to tell how we're going to do this, but basically what we're looking into is not only developing that software to help companies to develop, find out the best way of doing things, the best way to process it, but also we're looking at training, because we do a lot of training.
Yeah.
And, talk about a lot of training. We have lots of, manuals that we help write with our clients. We, do all this kind of stuff. We're trying to add a new thing where basically we can walk people through scenarios, and it can be literally customizable a million times. Like if you try to type in a passcode that's 6 digits, like how many times are you going to type in that passcode before you get the right one, right?
Yeah.
So you think all the different variations of that passcode that you can try before you get the right one is the same thing with the safety and the different types of trainings that we're going to do. So like, basically, we'll develop a whole bunch of safety issues on a job site and train people on how to identify the safety issues. And then you can adjust that system to do a whole bunch of different variations of those safety concerns on different job sites. And we're basically going to customize these job sites to their actual job sites.
Yeah.
So, like, their physical job sites that they're going to be on, customize it to that, and then run people through, like, safety training through those job sites, which will be really kind of neat to see and develop. So that's those were some of the crackhead thoughts as well. Crackhead thoughts. We should start a new segment on YouTube called Crackhead Thoughts.
Look, the crackhead thoughts. That's the name of the podcast. Crackhead thoughts.
Honestly, we could film our crackhead thoughts at night. The only thing is, I don't know if I want to give all those good ideas out.
I was about to say
those are some good ideas.
No, some of the best ideas come from crackhead hours. So.
Yeah, dude, they do. Like tonight, we'll probably go up. We'll probably chat before bed. We'll come up with some crackhead thoughts. But anyway, maybe listeners, maybe we'll have a segment called Crackhead Thoughts. Who knows?
I could get down behind some crackhead thoughts.
Right. There you go. Dude, maybe whenever you just call me at like 11 or dude, we've got this one guy. I might shout him out. I'm not going to shout him out. We've done one video shoot for him. And we've probably talked to him for a year and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. He'll know who I'm talking about by what I'm about to say. Nobody else will except for maybe like one or two of his other employees. He's really cheap on paying for anything to do with like advertising his company. So he's really and it's kind of a joke. I've texted him. So we joke around about how cheap he is. So you're really cheap. You know, you got to get us back out on the field. But we've only gone out once and taken some shots with him, and it's funny because he'll like text me at like I don't know 11 or midnight or 1 a.m. and like I'll just immediately respond like because I'm up, and he was like, dude, I don't like I always get a response from you. He's like, there's not a time that I've ever messaged you that like I haven't gotten a response like right away.
Yeah. And
I'm like, you might be the only one, dude, because like I try to sleep. I don't sleep a lot, but I try to sleep, and I just happen to be awake when you message me like, every single time, and they end up being crackhead thoughts through text too. But it's just really funny, like the late night discussions I have with some of our like I guess clients, but like not like not constant clients. Yeah. But it's really funny. We just
some of your contacts.
Some of our contacts. We just talk about the most random crap. It's really funny.
That's why it's called crackhead.
Yeah, honestly, it's just really funny.
After 11 p.m., it's just everything just starts going.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, your brain just like is just wild. But anyway, we've. What else can we talk about, man? Sand mining. Tell me stuff I don't know about sand mining. There wasn't really like a major point to this podcast other than just sitting down with you and learning a little bit about sand mining. But
I think the one thing about sand mining that nobody really realizes is it's the structure to everything.
No kidding. Oh, that's a good topic. We can run for another hour now. Okay, let's go.
We really could. I mean, it really is the base to everything.
Yeah.
Whether it be building a building.
Yep.
A shoe factory. Say you're creating your own shoe brand. You got some place that you got to make your shoes.
Yeah.
You got to have a road to get to your factory. You got to have a factory to build everything in. You got to everything is the building blocks.
I just want to think. Okay, so like when they develop like TxDOT roads or Oklahoma, Department of Transportation roads, right? You've got cushion sand. You've got select fill, which is a type of clay sand. Then you've got like aggregate, flex base. Then you've got asphalt. And then you've got like 6 inches of concrete. There's like 5 or 6 layers before you even get to the concrete.
Yes.
And every single one of those layers has sand in it.
Yes.
Every single one. Doesn't matter what material it has, sand.
Different grades of sand.
Yeah, different grade. So you've got, that cushion sand, that select fill, that flex base, that asphalt, that concrete. Every single one, sand.
Yes.
And so you think like the roads you're driving on, sand. Even if it's like a back road, they've most likely put some sand on it.
Yeah.
If you've got oil, if you're pumping a car with gas, they probably used frac sand to get the crude oil out of the ground.
You got your tires that are on your car that
sand.
It's built out of oil base.
Well, I mean, most electronics, every piece of glass that's in any building, sand.
Yep.
You think, like when we used to put CMU block walls up, they were made out of aggregate and sand and concrete, and that kind of stuff. But then you think the stuff you're pumping those cells with of the CMU blocks has sand in it.
Your shingles on your house.
Yeah.
Sand. Backing sand.
Even when you make structural steel, typically you've got to sandblast it.
Yep.
I mean, it's really cool when you think of like literally everything that you've got sand for. And that's just, it's really amazing because you think, okay, well, aggregate is part of a lot of the, concrete. Yeah. Sand is part of concrete.
Sand is it's one of the most important parts.
Yeah. Lime is part of concrete. You've got, cement is part of concrete. Like all these different admixtures and additives to concrete. And, most people don't even think about that. Like just the amount of sand that's used in our world.
I never thought about it until I got into it.
Yeah.
Once I started, doing it.
Yeah.
And really like being all a part of it. part of it, and it's like, oh man, like everything.
Well, you know,
it's not like
yeah, it's really interesting. Like when you get into the industry, how that happens. Like I know before Bryan started filming construction, mining, and oil and gas with us, he probably didn't look at a construction job or a road job or anything like that. But after that, I can see his eyes when we're on the road. He's like looking at everything now. I'm like, oh, you know, right? Am I right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I didn't even know that someone built the road I was driving at some point. I just thought the road was there. You know, it's just like it was just there. Never really thought about who actually built it.
So in reality, when you think of your job, it's one big crack thought. Mind blown right now. I just blew his mind. It's one giant. His life is one giant crackhead thought.
I mean, like you would think, like at least where I come from, you know, you see the folks like repairing the road.
Yeah.
And you're just all like, you know,
right past them.
Just right past. It's just like there's like nothing even happening here.
Yeah.
And then like now it's just like I drive past. I'm just like, bro, that's some hard stuff you're doing.
Yeah. I wonder what kind of cool shots I can make.
Like that's some hard work you're doing out there, brother. It's like,
hey, hold on. Do that again.
Yeah, right.
Let me take a photo.
I can't tell you how many times I pass by a job site on the road and I'm like, should I stop? I should stop. I shouldn't stop. Like, they're not gonna let me on the job site. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I should ask. There are times I've stopped and just been like, hey, like this is what I do for a living. Mind if I jump on here and take a couple of photos? And they're like, yeah, sure. But like it's really funny how you notice stuff after you've been in it. Like when I first started in construction, I was basically renovating and building houses. And never thought about the houses beforehand.
Yeah. And
when I started tearing down walls and you know, renovating them, I realized what was inside the walls. And when I was building the houses from scratch, I realized how much work, you know, went into it. And like everything that I do now, any kind of building that I see, I'm like, I know exactly every single piece of material that they're putting inside that building. And I think that's really cool.
Why it's there.
Exactly.
That's
like,
the biggest thing is the why it's there.
Or like, hey, how could they be doing it different? Like I'll pass by job sites that I see them doing something on. I'm like, and I know like what they're building, like from the foundation up, like you can tell what they're building.
Yeah.
And you're like, why are they doing that way? Like I know maybe the geotech says something that I've never seen before. Maybe it's like this. Like we were on a job site. I was on a job site. I think I was just going solo this time. And I haven't posted these photos yet, but I will sometime soon, is they were doing direct chemical injection into the roadways.
Yeah.
To, you know, do the PVR, you know, swelling of the PVR on the soils in Texas. And I've only done lime or hauled in select fill or flex base. I've never done any like direct, you know, injection of chemical injection.
Yeah.
We've done like cement mixture, lime mixture. We've done, you know, select fill. We've done flex base, you know, to help build the foundation of a road or a pad. But I've never seen like a dozer. And the dozer basically has this massive, I guess I would call it a mast, you know, and it has 4, 5, 6, you know, basically
giant needles that just go into the ground.
Yeah, giant needles that they just puncture the ground with and then pump this like chemical injection into the soil to help harden the soil so that they can build, you know, whatever it is. And like after seeing that, you know, you just don't notice those things until you've built it.
Yeah.
And that's really neat. But yeah. So what? I don't even remember what were you diving into?
I was just talking about how sand
is part of everything.
Is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, and
sorry, we're over here. We're drinking Jameson Stout Edition, and he's drinking a couple beers. So I'm forgetting where we're at, but it's amazing.
You know, it's one of those deals that I remember people ask me, hey, what do you do for a living?
Well, let me hold on, sit down. Let's talk about that.
How many hours do you have for me to explain this so that you actually understand what I'm saying? you know?
Yeah. That's the hardest part about like living in a blue collar industry is being able to describe what you do to somebody that has no freaking clue.
Yeah. I mean, my fiance is the prime example of that. You know, been with her for 4 years.
My wife still has no clue what we do.
Yeah, I mean, I've been with my fiance for 4 years, and I think for the first 3, she was always like, I just tell people that he plays with sand all day long.
He's basically in a big old sand pit like he was a kid. He just never grew out of it.
He moves sand around from one hole to another, I think is what he does.
I think that's what he does. I don't know.
Yeah. And it's like, no, it's a little more
Advanced,
a little more science to it than anything. But
that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cool industry.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what's some advice that you'd give to somebody that's brand new, that's looking for like a really cool industry to get into? Like from 3-4 years in the industry, what's some advice that you'd give somebody that's green?
Coming into the mining industry, ask as many questions as you can. Ask a lot of questions. Make sure you show up early. Give some initiative. And be open-minded to always wanting to learn something new.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what helped me the most in my – I'd say I progressed pretty quickly from going from an operator to a supervisor.
100%.
And, you know, I got into it, and I picked up the haul truck, you know, real quick. I think I was only in a haul truck for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And that was my everyday job. And then I went straight to an excavator or a dozer. And then next thing you know, I'm in a dozer for the next
that probably
2 years.
It probably says something to like your attention to detail.
Yeah.
Right? Because like I think like I see a lot of haul truck drivers that
they just drive.
Yeah, they just drive.
That's all they care about.
And in their mind, they're just, I don't know, they're arguing with their girlfriend, or they're playing video games, or they're whatever in their head. Something else is going on inside their brain.
Yes.
And haul truck driving is not. So like they just drive the same route. You know, they don't advance how they could drive the route. Like what's that? You know, hey, maybe if I take this corner like a little bit sharper, I could save a second per round.
Hey, if we built the road 10 feet over to the left, it would shave off 30 seconds round trip.
Yeah.
30 seconds round trip all day long.
Yep.
Ends up to being maybe 10 more loads a day.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, like little things like that where like even as a haul truck operator, you can take the initiative and you can see the little details. Because like, especially in operating, I think there's few jobs, I don't want to say this for sure, but few jobs in the world that like are as constant or monotonous as operating.
Yes.
I mean, if you can't perfect it, then you're probably going to get really bored real fast. But like, if you can't like better your route or better your process every single time, then you're not growing. Because I think like, especially with like excavator operating or haul truck operating or being a dozer operator, like if you're not constantly thinking of like, how can I shave off time? How can I make this faster? How can I be more efficient? How can I save the company money? And you're not doing those things, then I don't think you're doing it to your potential.
No, and I would say that if you're not constantly trying to be the best, you know, hey, I want to be the guy that has the most loads today.
Yeah.
I'm not going to stop every 10 minutes to get out of my haul truck and pretend to go to the bathroom or whatever it is, you know. I'm going to buckle down. I'm going to drive. I'm going to pay attention to what's going on. I'm going to observe everything, you know. Watch the plants. Watch what a loader operator's doing.
Yeah.
See his technique. Visually learn what somebody's doing before you say, hey, I want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks cool. But if you actually are watching him and you're really seeing what his day-to-day job is, then you say, okay, I think I can do that.
Yeah.
And then you go into it with a little bit of an idea of, okay, this is how Joe did it.
Yeah.
You know, I see this is how Joe's technique was.
And then you get in the seat.
And then you get in the seat, and then you develop your own technique.
Yep.
You say, okay, well, I saw Joe doing it this way. Why was he doing it this way?
Well, and there's nothing wrong with saying Joe did it this way.
No.
Oh, I can better that.
Yeah.
Even as a young guy, because like I think a lot of guys go, you know, I saw this you know, veteran operator doing it this way. They might have been doing that way for 25 years, and they might have never thought about perfecting it, right? And I've done that a lot where I like somebody shows me how to do something, and I start doing it, and like immediately I'm like trying to perfect a way to do it, and try to operate better, and try to make, you know, shave off time and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why I moved up in positions so much faster than the other guys, is because it was like they noticed, the management noticed that.
Yeah, you showed initiative.
Yeah. And it came naturally. Like, why work twice as hard when you could perfect the way you're doing things and work half as hard.
And get better results.
And get better results.
Yeah.
That's the thing is like, a lot of times people, they get so bogged down with the details and the same old thing every day. They just walk through the motions and they don't actually figure out ways that they can.
We call it making the donuts.
Making the donuts.
Yeah. We call it making
sense.
the donuts. It means you just come in, you got your head down, you're just there to make a paycheck.
Yep.
You're just there. You're making the donuts.
This brings up a different
You're not
point.
trying to sell it. You're not trying to own it.
This brings up a different point. We were just at a restaurant getting dinner, and they're starting guys off at like $15 an hour or whatever, which in some areas an operator can start off at 18 or whatever. It's not much difference. Like, what is to draw somebody to a hard working job like construction or mining versus like a restaurant, like a fast food restaurant that's just going to pay them $15 an hour?
I would say you've got so much more potential to grow in a mining industry. When you get into it and you really see all the levels that are in it, it's not just an operator and an owner. You've got your lead men, you got foremen, you've got supervisors, managers. There's so much area for growth, and there's so much to learn.
I think the guys that are messaging us each day, and I'll bring in another question, but we see a lot of guys, younger guys, that talk to us and reach out to us, and I think that's where they're at. Is they're like, I don't want to be in a restaurant. I don't want to go to Buc-ee's and make $15 an hour, $16 an hour, just at a cash register. Like, I want to be able to like work towards something. Like, you can't really. You can kind of work towards something at Buc-ee's, but I mean, be real. Like,
a
manager position? Yeah. So like you think in a mining or a construction industry, I not only have the opportunity to work now making decent money straight out of high school, but I have the potential to make a really good position. I mean, you can
really good living.
Yeah, a really good living, plant manager, VP. I mean, you can go all the way up the line in your career. And if you're really motivated to do better every day, you're going to do it. It's a given.
Absolutely.
That you're going to rise in that company. Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy how many people don't take advantage of it.
And I think it'll change.
Well, why do you think that people haven't taken advantage of it?
They don't know about it.
Yeah.
It's just like when I was a kid, I'm going to go way back.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I loved construction. It's part of the reason why I wanted to get into the construction management side of things. My mom used to have to know where all the construction sites were in our town and avoid them.
So she wouldn't have to
So that
stop.
she wouldn't have to stop for 40 minutes of the day.
That's awesome.
You got to figure out what you're interested in.
Yeah.
But if you don't know that it's out there, how do you ever expect to figure out what you're interested in?
Yeah.
And bringing more awareness to mine sites. I think it was 2017. There was 11,213 open pit mines operating in the United States.
Yeah.
They're
all looking for people.
How often do you hear about those?
You don't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you've got maybe 300,000 employees out of those 11,000.
Yeah.
Which is a small percentage in the grand scheme of jobs out there.
Yeah.
And they're mostly, you don't need a college education. And that is what was pushed on so hard for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Was
Bryan gets up in this topic every time.
So
it is. I mean, it was
the truth.
it was just shoved down everyone's throat
Yeah.
that you needed a 4-year degree.
That's what I was told growing
to
up.
Ever make any kind of money, you
Yep.
needed a 4-year degree.
My dad,
and-
I think my dad's still surprised to this day that like we're, I don't know, making a career without a degree. Like
Yeah,
he's still surprised.
I don't think my dad's surprised. My dad always told me you can do whatever you put your head to.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, see, my dad was the first of his family, I believe, to have a degree. So it was like, all of his dad and their family, their extended family, and he was the oldest of his group. He was the first one to like go and get a college degree.
Yeah.
So like in his mind, it was always like college. You need college, right? And I just hated school. I
did too.
I didn't like the people in school. I didn't like the professors in school. I didn't like what we were doing in school. I didn't like anything about college. Didn't like anything about high school. It just drove me nuts.
Yeah.
Like just the mentality. Like I don't know. I feel like I grew up too fast, but like that was a good thing. Like at the age of 16, I moved out of the house. By the age of 18, I had dropped out of college, and I was living on my own at age 16. Paying for my car, paying for my rent, paying for utilities, paying for internet, paying everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know. When I got out of college, I was just happier.
Yeah, I was
Just
too.
happier.
I was too, and it took me a little while to figure out exactly what I wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But ultimately, I went back to my roots of when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember being 10 years old, going up to a water line crew.
Yeah.
That was putting a brand new water line in down our main street.
Mm-hmm.
And I went up there all summer long.
Just checked them out.
Like every couple of days, I'd go up there, ride my bike up to where they are, and I'd watch them for hours.
Yeah.
Just how the pipe went together, how they would backfill, then move the section down, dig the next section out, put the pipe in, backfill, and repeat it over and over again. By the end of it, those guys were like, hey, do you want to come sit in the excavator and dig a little hole real quick?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I would.
Yeah, I would love to do that,
Yeah.
And it's people like that
Yep.
that give a little kid something to realize that, hey, this is what I want to do.
Dude, I had the same experience. Like it's really cool how like and I don't know about you, but like you experienced that at a young age. I experienced my first equipment experience at a young age.
Yeah.
And we didn't develop it until like later in our lives. Like we always thought, oh, college degree, we need a college degree. And then later on we kind of ran back into this and we see how like influential I think that back then was. Like I remember distinctly, and I was young. Like I grew up most of my life in Florida, right? And this was long before we moved to Florida. So I was like, I don't even know how I remember this. I mean, I was probably like 4 or 5. Yeah. And maybe 6. I don't know. And my dad had a job at like State Farm. He was working as a project manager, IT consultant for State Farm up in, I don't know, one of the other states that we lived in a bunch when I was young. And they were building a new State Farm like office building, massive headquarters out there, wherever it was, Illinois, Nebraska, whatever it was. And I remember my dad had to grab something from the office. And so Grant, my brother, and I were with him, and we saw like an earthwork company out there moving dirt, and they had a couple scrapers running. It was like Sunday. It was like the weekend.
Yeah.
And a couple scrapers running and a motor grader running out there, and they were just moving dirt. And my dad was like, Grant and I were talking about what was going on. Oh, that's so cool. And my dad's like, hold on 1 second. And he like walks over to the operators. He gets attention to both the operators, and he's like, hey, my sons are over there. They think it's really cool. So he comes back. He grabs us out of the truck. We walk over there. He had like this old like 95 Bronco we were both in. We hopped out of the Bronco, walked over. He's like, hey, which one do you want to operate? And he pointed at the motor grader. He pointed at the 657 scraper, and I was like, scraper. Like, I want that. My brother wanted the motor grader. So my brother hopped up in the motor grader. I hopped up in the scraper, and we just went to town with these guys. They just were moving dirt, and that was like one of my favorite experiences. I still remember to this day at like the age of 4 or 5 or 6. Like I don't even remember how young I was, and I think like that had a key impact into like my life in construction from that age. Like there was probably like a 10, 15 year gap that like I didn't think I was going to be in construction from that age. But I ended up running back into construction anyway. It was just like meant to be.
Yeah, I mean, that's what my fallback was always construction. If I wanted to try something new, if I didn't feel like it was the right thing, I fell back to construction or landscaping,
Absolutely.
And I mean, landscaping is a form of construction. But it was more like hardscape construction.
But see, that's fun. Landscaping beats me to hell, dude.
I loved hardscape work.
I love landscaping and hardscaping. Like, I love the finished product of it. Man, it's a lot of work. Dude.
Oh yeah, it is.
It's a lot of sweaty days. That's for sure. Yeah.
But you just get back to your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to push you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
I remember when I took this job here, I was out of my comfort zone.
Yeah.
I was an operator.
Yeah.
And now I'm coming into a whole new company where I know 2-3 people maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm now a boss. I'm like, well, okay.
I guess I'll figure out how to lead.
Yeah. And it was one of those things. It's like, all right, kind of trial by fire, but
yeah. Well, you learn,
you learn. And
well, what's cool, I mean, you're texting your operators right, like tonight, like you have a personal relationship with these guys.
Yeah.
Which I think is great. Like, a lot of companies, larger companies, believe in like not being personable with your people. And it's like, you're over here texting them, taking pictures of the podcast and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool, like, person to person relationship, brother relationship with these guys.
And there is a fine line that you got to make sure you don't cross.
Yeah, absolutely.
In an area, but there's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah. I think business is one of the most personal things you can have.
Yeah.
You spend more time with your work buddies than you do your family.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I mean,
why not make it worth it?
Spend 12 hours a day, 12 plus hours a day with these guys.
I see my wife and kids a couple hours every night.
Yeah.
And when I was working construction, less, I see my kids a couple hours every week.
Yeah.
So you think like I spend every waking hour with my work, colleagues.
Yeah.
I've got to have a good relationship with them.
And that's why it's got to be a family.
Yeah. That's it. So, okay, how can companies reach out to young people? Like, not 18 young, like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. Like, start them young. I think our industry does a terrible job at advertising the possibilities in this industry at like even an elementary school level.
I always loved the good old touch a truck,
Yeah.
Companies put together some equipment, take it to a parking lot, let kids come out, climb all over it.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Let them see what.
That doesn't cost a lot either.
No.
Just haul it out there. I mean, it's
all fees.
Cool.
You don't even have to take it to keep it on a job site, whatever it is. If you got a big enough field or something, do it before you start construction.
Cool. Yeah.
Say, hey, we're about to start this project on Monday. Let's do a touch a truck on Saturday.
No kidding.
And have these kids come out and just let them climb all over everything. It's just a big open field right now.
Every single contractor or leadership contractor right now that's listening to this needs to start doing this.
I agree.
Started at because you don't know, these kids are going to grow up and they're going to fall into this industry. They will. And that's, I think a lot of parents don't like their kids, the construction, mining, oil and gas industry has always been like a roughneck industry.
Yeah.
One that like people look down on.
Yeah.
But I think we're changing that slowly in this industry. I think that's part of our job as Eagle Eye is to change that perspective on the industry, that it's no longer like you and I are talking. We're not just like hicks out in the back country that are just moving dirt. Like this, like you were saying, this is pretty scientific what you're doing with frac sand.
Yes.
Like this mining there's a lot that goes into it. And the guys out with Rogers Group are some of the most intelligent guys I've ever met in my life. Like these guys are intelligent. Like these are not elementary school, level guys. Like these, it takes a lot to do what we do.
If I ever get to learn half the stuff that my boss knows, I'm going to say I have a successful career.
Yeah. It's amazing.
The guy's been doing it since he was 10, family owned a mine, and he's been in it ever since.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And I've always told him, I said, I told him from the day that he hired me, I said, I want your job.
Yeah, right. There you go.
He asked me, he said, what's your end goal? I said, I want your job.
Yeah.
And I think that stuck with him.
Yeah, that's good.
Don't be afraid to reach out there. That's one of the things that, I think people get afraid to really reach for what they want.
I think people discount how successful they can be. I think they doubt how successful they can be. Like our business, for instance. I don't doubt a minute that we can make this business international, making billions of dollars, right? We're not doing that, obviously. But here's what I always say is, like, and this is one of our values, is always shoot for perfection. That's one of our value system. Because if you shoot for perfection, you may fall a little bit short of it, but it's better than falling below what your actual value, whatever your actual goal was. Perfection is the limit, right? You can't be any better than perfection.
Yeah.
So shoot for perfection. And if you fall short of it, at least you were better off than if you made a goal before it, right?
You tried.
Yeah. And so, like, I think people need to understand that in their personal life, that you need to shoot for perfection in your personal life. And you need to understand that you can be greater than what you ever thought imaginable. Because a lot of people in life will tell you that you can't be this, you can't be that, you're mediocre. I don't care what your background is. You can grow into whatever you believe you can be in. Yes. And it's all based off of your mindset. It's all based off of how you interact with yourself. Your mind is an amazing tool. And if you tell yourself you're not going to be something, you won't be. If you tell yourself you are going to be something, you will be. So it's very, I like how you say that. It's true. And we're actually going to do I think it's July 15th-ish. We've got a contractor of ours out in Alabama. They've got what's called,
The Big Dig.
The Big Dig. That's it. Nailed it.
I never forgot that word.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
The Big Dig.
Big Dig.
And basically what it is, it's like, I guess the Big Dig is like an organization that travels around the country, and they find contractors to help kind of sponsor the event, basically bring equipment out. And it's for like cancer, leukemia patients at like
cancer awareness.
Yeah, like really young kids that are from like a local hospital that are suffering from leukemia and cancer. And I mean, these kids have been in a hospital for years. Mm-hmm. They've never had any fun. They're growing up in a hospital. It's just really sad.
Yeah.
But this time of year, like, they give these kids a chance to come out, sit on a piece of equipment, operate the piece of equipment, and enjoy some time out about.
Get to be a kid.
Yeah. Get to dig stuff. Get to play in a massive sandbox.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to be able to just go out there. We're going to film it, but we're going to be able to interact with these kids. I'm bringing my kids, bringing my wife. They're going to help out. And we're going to try and get the whole team out there. And it's going to be really cool. Just because more things like that need to happen in this industry. Because I think a lot of people in our industry are just genuinely good-hearted folks.
Absolutely.
And we need more good-hearted folks, showing this off to a younger generation for us to be able to change the industry and be able to, like, be proactive rather than reactive.
Oh, yeah, I agree. 100%.
Yeah. But that'll be a lot of fun. So. Oh, shoot, man. I'm about to pour myself a third glass of Jameson here.
Damn.
I don't know. It's getting, what time is it?
Almost 10:30.
10:30. We've got to get it pretty early. So we're almost running up on an hour and 45. You got anything else you want to add? We talked about a lot.
Talked about more than I thought we were going to.
Yeah, right. Honest. Bryan, you got anything to add?
No, I think y'all covered a decent amount of stuff. I got an hour and 45 here.
We're about to run into 11 o'clock, which is Bryan's crackhead thoughts.
That's
time.
Yeah.
Which we've got still we've got another 2 hours worth of work to go up to the hotel room and get done. So we might as well end it here. But man, Cason, thanks for jumping on. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a lot of fun, and we'll see you bright and early at 5:30 tomorrow morning.
Oh yeah, we'll have a lot more fun tomorrow too.
Oh yeah. So, and we'll be, we're gonna spend a couple hours tonight working, and then we're probably gonna spend a couple hours in the morning working, and then after 10 or 11, after we get done with you guys, we're gonna spend a couple hours more working. So it'll be a long couple days, but we're excited to be able to get out there and show it off. We're gonna start in the morning, show some morning work, show some daytime work, show some dredging. Hopefully we can get it up inside your plants. I don't know if that's possible. Didn't even think about that. But after that, we'll show some nighttime work.
I've got a drum that's down that if you want some inside footage of one of the drums.
That'd be good. Can we get it to spin a little bit or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can get one of them.
It's just not processing any material right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
It'll be the one that I've got some welders coming in working on. So
hey, we'll get some welding shots.
Yeah.
All that kind of good
We
stuff.
got a lot of stuff going on.
Sweet. Well, cool. Thanks, guys, for listening. Remember, if you guys enjoyed the podcast, please share it. We have a lot more coming up. We also have just, I don't know, a lot of cool things that are happening as far as Eagle Eye goes. So we're going to try and announce them on the podcast and try to keep everybody up to date on the news with us. So if you guys enjoy this, please give us a follow, a like, comment, share, all that kind of good stuff. We're going to try and put these up on YouTube a little bit more often than we have been and try to expand our YouTube channel. So go over there, subscribe. And Cason, thanks for jumping on.
Hey.
You are creating some social media pages for General Materials. So
I am.
As we start doing that, by the time we've launched this podcast, it is our goal to have a LinkedIn, an Instagram, and a YouTube channel up for General Materials.
Yes.
So go check out General Materials Inc. or Incorporated, one of the two.
Yep.
And go follow those guys as well.
Check out this new website that these guys are making for us, too.
Absolutely.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, I forgot what the URL is, but we'll announce that on social media.
Can't remember either.
Anyway, guys, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for listening. We are out of here.